What we're going to go into today is bare validate, which is our way of validating whether or not certain data that you pass in matches certain criteria or conditions. Now, this has two ways of being used. You can use it in a very regimented, specific, very programmatic, deterministic way that we're used to, or you can use it in a kind of flexible AI reasoning kind of way, which is very, very interesting. So let's go over the simple stuff first, then we'll go into the AI. Let's see here. What do we want to validate? Let's validate an email address. So validate email. And we'll say Matthew@groveos.com. Right? Valid email. Very good. What about this? Nope. We'll do validate alpha. Let's do Henry89. Right? That fails because we're not dealing with just an alphabetic string here. What we're doing is we're also passing in numerals. So let's take those away. Now that satisfies the condition. Let's do alpha numeric, right? Put the 89 back in, and now that's good to go. Let's do validate IP, right? So like an IP address. So we have 192.168.0.0, let's say. That looks like a valid IP address. What about this? Not quite. Another validation you could do are like decimals, right? So a decimal 5, right? Technically not a decimal. That's really an integer. But if we add in the decimals, then we can do that. We can also pass in things like places, right? So how many decimal places do we have? 2? 3? Nope. We can also say decimals, right? Doesn't work. That works. Validate number, right? 5 is also a number, right? We can also say validate integer, 10, right? We can say validate integer digits of 2, that works. 3 doesn't work, right? So we've got some pretty nuanced ways of validating information here. Let's dive into the AI version of this now. So just like before, we're going to specify what type of validation we're doing, right? When we did validate alpha and then Henry89, right? Alpha was our type, Henry89 was our source material that we're passing on. Does this meet the conditions of alpha? Here, what we're doing is we're saying validate AI. So AI is kind of like our type. Now we need to pass in the conditions, right? First president of U.S., right? Let's make it capital. Let's say George Hoover. Yeah? Now what this is doing is it's reaching out to OpenAI, passing that along with some extra prompt engineering under the hood to make it very clear what we're asking. And it returns false. Pretty cool. Now you don't have to worry so much about the AI going on and on and on here, because what we're actually receiving as a response is not text, but JSON. And then what we're doing is we're validating the JSON to make sure it meets certain criteria, like if it's a Boolean, true or false. And then also within that JSON object, we have another variable called reasoning, which actually helps the AI to give you the right answer. Right? There was some research early on with the AI language models, and if you tell it to explain its reasoning ahead of time and then give you the answer at the end, it does a lot better at providing an accurate answer that way, because you're allowing it to provide more context that it then uses at the very end to give a more probabilistic answer that is correct. And so we get back that JSON response. If the JSON is malformed, or if it's If it's not what we're looking for, we then try the thing a few more times just to make sure. Now, usually it gets it on the first try. I haven't had it mess up on the first try, but just in case, we have 3 opportunities that are kind of built in. And then if it doesn't work, it'll just respond with, we're having trouble responding to your request. Can you please maybe rephrase it? And that should help. So here, right, we get back false. Now we can also have it explain its reasoning by passing explain. So here we're just going to get back the text. So again, that's that property right above the answer that is its reasoning. And so we're just grabbing that property back. So here, right, first president of the U.S. was George Washington, right, not George Hoover, right? So also you might be interested, okay, so we're using the default model here, GPT-4o Mini, right? Really cheap, really fast, good for most things, actually quite good for a lot of reasoning. But let's say you want to get access to the higher powered models. What you can do is you can say high powered. And that is going to take just a little bit longer. But what that's doing is it's passing it on to GPT-4o. You can also specify a model. So if more interesting models down the road come out, you can specify them here. And that's OpenAI models. All right, let's go back to the default model. And let's ask a more nuanced, a more challenging question. Let's say first president of U.S. in the year 1289 or 1299. So I pass that along, right? George Hoover, of course, this is going to fail again, right? And if we ask it to explain itself, it would go into detail. Now here, let's change this to George Washington, right? Actual first president of the U.S. But in the year 1299, I don't know. Let's see. Explain yourself, and then it comes back and it says first president of it was George Washington. The year is far earlier, so the condition is not satisfied, right? And so if we take away that explain, it should just come back as false, right? Cool. Now, what's really interesting about this here is that this is programmable, right? This is scriptable. You can put in your conditions, and then you can put in the source material. So what I've done here is, let me clear this out. In my home directory, I have made a little CSV file. And this CSV file has some emails, some kind of like fake emails that are geared toward a company, and this is a hiking company, guided trails company. And so some of these emails are legitimate. They may be our customers, or maybe they are business vendors looking for some partnerships. But then some of them are spam, right? And so we want to clear out the spam. What we can do here is in our script over here, filter emails. I've just put this together ahead of time. What we've done is we've gathered the records using rec file format. And we are piping in the CSV file, or redirecting it rather, to CSV to rec, right? So essentially what that gives us is a nice big rec file of the CSV, so we can kind of parse what we're dealing with a little more elegantly. And then what we're doing is we're saying, all right, for each record in that collection, and what we're doing is we're saying echo the records to rec cell. We're selecting the email, and we're collapsing the content so that it's all just one line right after the other, no breaks. All right. And so essentially what we get back here is a list of the emails, right? So we have a nice itemized list of all the emails. So for each record in that list, go ahead and parse out the name. So we're going to say we're passing in all the records to rec.cell again, and we're getting the index, the number, relative to our index. So here on the first run, we have 0, so that's going to get the first record, and we're going to parse out the name. And there is the email, so we're parsing out the email, and the contents are parsed out here. Now we're setting a spam variable, and we're setting it to validate AI. Is this spam? And then we pass in our contents that we just set right up here. Now what we can do, and then we increment the index here at the very end. So now what we can do is we can, echo out, was it spam or not? And let's just go ahead and say the email. Let's echo the email, and let's say spam, right? So that's essentially going to say this email true spam, this email false to spam, right? So let's go ahead and run it. So run filter emails, right? We're in the bare environment here, so we can just call run and then filter emails, because filter emails is the name of the script in the scripts directory. Cool. So this is going to pass it off to the AI, record by record, and we're going to take a look and say, okay, so John Doe looks legitimate. Ooh, that looks like it came back as spam, right? Bob Johnson is trying to spam us, right? Cool. So this is doing it for each one. Now, of course you could just, pass this on, this big CSV file, to ChatGPT or something like that, and get the response back. But the thing about that is that you have to be there for it. You have to kind of manually caretake it, right? You have to tend to your prompt engineering. You have to do all that kind of stuff. Here, right, this validation step can be just a small little part in a big script that you run in the background, let's say, or you run on command and you just press run over here, and then you can have it running while you do something else, right? You don't have to wait and say, oh, that's right, I left the response, it's sitting in this browser tab, let me go back over there and copy paste it and then do some stuff with it, right? This here, the validation step, is embedded within your script. So you're kind of using it as this gate to let things through or not, with an AI reasoning kind of block built into your scripting, which is so cool. There are so many use cases for this, and you can get quite verbose with your conditions here, right? You can say something like, is this a business inquiry related to my business? I have let's say that this company is actually a hair and makeup company, right? So here, right, probably all of them are going to come back as false, right? So let's go ahead and run that. Because these emails, even the legitimate ones that were geared toward, customers or vendors reaching out, they are all thinking that this is a hiking company, right? So even the legitimate emails are going to come back as like not relevant to this kind of company, right? That's really cool. Like all of these are coming back as false. Yeah. So this is a great way to like filter out things automatically, programmatically. And yeah. So as I come up with other interesting use cases for this, I'm sure I'll come back here and post a video. If you have ideas about how to use this, please let us know in the comments. I'm very interested to see what kind of jobs we can get done with this new validate function. All right, hope you have a good day.